What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over several tips to hopefully help you play better when playing aggressive in Fortnite Chapter 7. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, comment down below if you consider yourself to be an aggressive or a passive player, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolvedJake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So playing aggressive is an advantage in many ways in Fortnite, but it is also a disadvantage. Obviously, with it, the more engagements you get in, the more likely it is that something can go wrong, the more likely it is you can get third party. So that's kind of the main disadvantage. But the advantage is you put a lot of pressure on enemy players, and a lot of people kind of fold under this pressure. And you also dictate the pace and you dictate the terms of a lot of fights. And when you're doing that, if you are comfortable playing aggressive and you have the skills to back it up, you will win a lot of fights just because you're dictating the pace of it and you're dictating the terms of it, because a lot of players you're going to be making the fight something that a lot of players aren't good at, or a lot of players don't really want to deal with. But it can backfire on you and just like really fall flat. Obviously, you need to have the skills to make this work. I think you need to have pretty good aim. You need to have good decisiveness, and then reaction time is something that a lot of people would bring up, but I feel like reaction time is kind of overrated in game somewhat. I think the biggest reason why this matters, or the biggest way you're going to notice this, I think, is the decisiveness. Like I'm saying, if you're someone who like kind of hesitates making decisions, doesn't matter how fast your reaction time is, that hesitation is going to get you killed. And a lot of times in Fortnite, making an imperfect play that's just kind of okay that you commit to is a lot better than hesitating and doing nothing. And then obviously, as I said, you need to have the aim and stuff to back it up. In the current meta, the Flex SMG or the Hollow Rush SMGs have both gotten buffed to the point where they're really good. We also have a lot more mobility in the loot pool that makes this playstyle a lot more viable. And the SMG pump combo is incredible for close range. You will be eliminating people incredibly fast. If you hit a good pump shot, swap to either of the SMGs, and then just melt them down, you're going to kill incredibly fast up close. And both of these SMGs are solid-ish at medium range. They really lack at long range, and a lot of stalemate fights really aren't great for this weapon either. So the most important thing when it comes to playing aggressive, not only is aim and kind of decisiveness, but also if you are going to be using this SMG setup, it's going to be playing around the weakness of the SMG. They don't have much damage at range, so you want to avoid long-range fights or long-range situations whenever possible. And that easily kind of goes without saying, right? Like that makes just perfect sense. But still, the way you play the map and the way you make decisions in fights and the ways you move your character needs to kind of be all about not getting in those long-range fights. And if you are getting in one, you need to get out of there. It's harder to play off cover, I think, with these SMGs as well, especially in the case of the Flex, since it is a third-person weapon. So a lot of fights where, maybe you're 40 meters away from the opponent, you have like a rock or a tree or something, they have a rock or a tree or something, you're both playing off of cover, right? This type of situation, while the range isn't really going to be that much of a problem for either of the SMGs, they're still going to kill really quick. This is a type of fight where the Deadeye is really good, because having that red dot sight makes it a lot easier to peek off of cover. And I know the Hollow has a sight as well, but stay with me. Having the sight makes it easier to peek off of cover. I think the third-person weapons are kind of weird because you don't want to be moving with them as much, and it's harder to be precise, I think, when you're aiming. You can peek easily while aimed in and show very little of your character, or show like the smallest amount you need. But also, in this situation, the enemy is probably going to be doing the same, right? So you're only going to really have their head to shoot at. And the Deadeye is perfect for this, not only because it is perfectly accurate, but the headshot multiplier of the Deadeye makes it really oppressive in these close range fights. Just 2 or 3 headshots, and they've done so much damage to you that it's going to be hard to come back from. So the Flex, obviously, it's going to be harder for you to peek off cover. It's going to be harder for you to just hit an opponent's head. The Hollow Rush, since it has a sight, is going to be a little more accurate for those situations and a little easier for peeking off of cover, but it doesn't have the headshot multiplier. So you want to avoid these stalemate fights as much as possible, and mobility is going to be the key to this. I think if you are going to be running this shotgun SMG setup, you want to be carrying 2 sets of shockwaves to be as mobile as possible. And having all these shockwaves will allow you to push enemies whenever you want, but it will allow you to escape situations where your weapons aren't going to be doing very much damage, or the fight isn't really that great for you. And with the spawn rate of shockwaves how they are currently, you can use your shockwaves pretty loosely. You don't need to be worrying about like making sure you get the ultimate value out of your shockwaves. Because they spawn pretty regularly, and if you're carrying 2 stacks, you should be able to stay topped off throughout the course of the game if you're getting kills and you're getting refreshes. Fizz as your healing item is also great because the floaty movement is going to be an even greater advantage for you in close range, but also allow you to travel further off a single shockwave, which is going to be really great for third partying. If you hear a fight happening in the distance, you just Fizz shock over there. The enemies probably aren't going to get much audio for you coming here. You're going to be in their face with the best close range fighting setup in the game. And even if the winner of that fight didn't take very much damage, you catching them off guard with this god close range fighting setup should be all you need to win the fight if you have decent aim. And that's kind of what I was saying before about like dictating the terms of the fight. If it's happening at a time where the opponent isn't ready or isn't aware for it, and you're aware of it because you're making it happen, that's huge advantage, and your damage output in close range is going to be insane. Pressing the advantages you get is also incredibly important if you're going to be playing aggressive. If you get a small window or a small opportunity to make a play on somebody, you want to pounce on that, get that elimination, get them out of the game, rather than letting that opportunity slip, because your weapons are a little bit more limited than the AR. The AR is more versatile, but it's not as like dominant in close range. So you need to play around the weakness of the SMG, and whenever you do get an advantage, you need to take advantage of it. As I said, these stalemate fights around cover will happen a lot in zero build, and they aren't ideal for your weapon when the most popular one is the Deadeye. So whenever I do get any sort of damage advantage, I want to push it. I might only hit a shot or two and get like 40 damage. That's not that great, but it's better than starting the fight dry, and it's better than starting like continuing to have this fight where the AR is really ideal. So even if you get a small advantage, pressing that small advantage and making a huge deal out of it helps a lot. And again, you have the dominant close range fighting setup, so take advantage of that. Or you could just leave these stalemate fights and not partake in them. But the worst thing you can do is just like hit a little bit, not do anything off that damage, keep kind of peeking, keep giving them an opportunity to like melt you with headshots, because the more you do that, the more it's likely to happen, or the like third parties will show up, and that will be bad for you as well. And one thing you kind of can do in these situations that'll work sometimes, but it also won't work sometimes, is you can just kind of shoot at nothing and bait this player into over peeking. If you are having like a stalemate nothing fight where you're both really not showing much, not peeking much, but you know they're there, and you also don't want to just hop on them dry, you could shoot your shotgun off, swap to your SMG, shoot it a little bit, and a lot of players, maybe not a lot, but some players will think you're fighting and over peek at that point, which gives you an opportunity to immediately just look at them, get your damage, and then push them, make it a close range fight, get them out of the game. A lot of situations in this game, you might have like players you eliminated around you, especially like right on you. Like maybe you push somebody, got a kill, and then there's like another third party mid range. You can maybe recycle the ranged weapons off the player you just eliminated. So like if they had a Deadeye AR, you can pick that up for the mid-range fight, get your tags on the person who's behind cover, drop the Deadeye for your SMG, and then push them and have that close range fight. So whenever it is possible, recycling ranged weapons like that can help a lot. Also, there's times where you don't need to fight because the fight is eventually going to become better for you. So this will happen a lot in endgame. I'll have a clip on screen now. In this final 1v1, we're about to go into a smaller zone, but the final player is posted up in a bunker with the infantry rifle, and I'm using an SMG. So this long-range fight is horrendous for me. I have a very small target to shoot at, and even if I do hit him, I'm not going to be doing much damage. So basically, all I need to do in this time is just waste time. I don't need to eliminate this player in the zone we're currently in, because in the next zone, it's going to be a fight that favors me a lot better because the zone is going to be smaller. And I have an easier path to zone as well, so I can maybe get some damage on him when he's rotating, and then pounce on that damage and get him out of the and win the game off that. So like that's what I end up doing. But just knowing in the back of your mind that like, you know, this fight sucks for me, but eventually it's going to be a better fight, so we don't need to force anything here. The onus is on him to make something happen, but since he's playing a more like passive long range setup, he can't really make anything happen. So unless I just throw, or if I don't throw, we'll win the game. So just know when you need to fight and when you don't actually need to fight when it comes to these long range fights, because a lot of them are avoidable, and that's what makes close range like a more dominant setup typically, or more like difficult setup to deal with, I guess, because if you're fighting somebody in your ideal range, they probably have no option but to just have the fight. Whereas in a long range fight, usually you have more outs. You need to keep in mind when playing aggressive that third parties are always going to be a part of the game. And the more you're fighting, the more likely it is you get third parties. So always be prepared to deal with these third parties and react accordingly. Whenever you get a kill, don't expect things to be safe. Don't tunnel vision on loot too much. All of that important stuff. Be ready to reset fights and be ready to deal with third parties. As I've touched on several times, if you have good aim and you're using the pump and SMG combo, you have an insane damage advantage in close range fights. So you need to take advantage of this as much as you can. And you can go into a lot of fights knowing that, like, if it's on close range terms, you have the advantage there. Being decisive is incredibly important. And I think, like, the key to playing aggressive and the thing that limits people most, as I've touched on several times, throughout playing aggressive, you're probably going to end up in a lot of situations where you have to chase enemy players. Like, you get damage on them, you get them really weak, and then they just start shockwaving away and trying to get away from you. I made an entire video about chasing yesterday, so go check that one out. That way I don't have to cover all of those topics again. But chasing and being good at chasing is also something that's important when it comes to playing aggressive. And then the final thing I want to say is, I talked about this earlier on in the video, a lot of players in this game do not respond well to pressure. And if you put pressure on them and you're dictating the terms of the fight and making it a fast-paced, chaotic fight, this is something that a lot of people do not deal well with, and they just kind of panic and run away. And I've seen comments like this on my videos and other content creators' videos where someone will be like, everybody you fight is just running away from you. When I play the game, everybody's just up in my face pushing me, not letting me any time to breathe. And the difference there is that if you're watching somebody play aggressive and do it well, since they're dictating the terms of the fight, it's happening on their terms. They are the ones putting out the pressure. Like, the game is all about pressure. And if you're putting out more pressure than your opponents, a lot of times you're making them uncomfortable. If you're not putting out any pressure and you're just letting people engage on you, then, like, yeah, people are going to be more confident playing aggressive versus you and pushing you. It's pretty much all about pressure. And if you're the one making the fight happen and dictating the terms of it, the enemy is having to react to you. And a lot of times that's going to result in people panicking. So the reason why it might look like, oh, this streamer, everyone just runs from them, they're making people run from them by playing aggressive. If I was playing very passive, people would maybe feel comfortable pushing me, but I'm not letting the enemies do that because I'm dictating the terms of the fight. But that is going to be it for this video. I think the shotgun SMG setup is very good this season. Deadeye is probably, like, more consistent and easier to be good with, but the killing potential of shotgun SMG is insane up close. And when you play well and when you get good timings and good situations, it's hard to beat. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.